going to be, what are the advantages? I mean, I know that you're currently a college student. Africa is called the motherland. It's not just called the motherland just because it's the motherland. It's because that's really
the African diaspora has been spread a long time around the world. But we are focusing on the new generation of Africans that came to America.
Once you move from one environment to another, it's natural that you do change. Like when you're young, when you're starting to learn a language, it's easy for you to pick up.
Hello viewers, once again welcome back to Tam Tam, the Sound of Africa on ACR TV. I am Rukia Tuture, the host of the socio-political segment, and I am accompanied here today by Kindi Barry. We also have a very phenomenal person here, an author of the book, and she's going to tell us about herself and her book.
Cindy, thank you so much for being here today with us.
Thank you.
I recently just finished reading your book, and before I even go into anything, I want to thank you for writing that book because I loved it. Which made me wonder, is this your first book, or did you write any other book before?
I want to thank you so much for reading it, and I've had so many opportunities to hear from the readers about how this book has helped them. And yes, it is my first book. The reason why I wrote it was because last year a friend of mine had passed away back in September, and I found myself going through symptoms of depression. I was struggling with why did this have to happen to my friend, and I felt I need to stay motivated, keep motivated, and yes, this is my first book, and I'm so glad that it's out there.
And so the book is called How to Stay Motivated.
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Sure, yes. As I was saying, a friend of mine had passed away back in September 2014, and I was going through depression, and my friend was so loving and so heartwarming. Whenever people came across her path, she made them feel comfortable in their own skin. And so she suddenly passed away from cardiac disease, which is one of the main diseases that people of African descent pass away from. And so when I heard about her death, I was going through depression, and I was actually trying to find ways to be motivated by going to the salon or getting my manicure done. And one Friday I was off from work and I decided to go to the salon, and my husband actually sent me an email with 10 things about how to, actually 11 things on how to stay motivated. It was just a list, and while I was at the salon, as women know, we spend 5 to 6 hours there, and during that whole time I decided to write the first draft of this book. So within 5 to 6 hours I had the first draft of this book, and I definitely put it to good use, and I just wrote down my thoughts about each point, and decided to publish the book a month later after doing the edits again. I was a major, my major in college was English Literature and Creative Writing, and so I used my editorial skills for the past 15 years to push this book out into the market, because I know a lot of people go through depression.
So thank you very much. That was a beautiful answer. And I'm sorry for your friends passing away. I'm truly sorry. So my next question is going to be about the youth. It's very difficult for us nowadays to stay motivated, you know, with school, with our goals, even with family, basically. It's very rough. And so especially with the African American community, let's say. What's your advice? What do you have to say to those youth who are out there struggling to keep it motivated?
Definitely. One part of my book talks about staying focused. A lot of today's youth are distracted by many things. Too many things are pulling them in different directions. They may be in the wrong crowd, they may be distracted by what they see on TV. And my advice to the youth today is to figure out your purpose. Where do you see yourself 10 years from now? You don't have to necessarily go down that far on the road, but just try to have a vision for your life. If a friend of mine once told me, if you know what your purpose is, you won't do certain things. If you know that you want to become a doctor, you won't not study for your exams. If you know you want to be a fashion designer, you're not just going to dream and wish about becoming a fashion designer. You'll actually seek out sources and people who are in the field. So I find that if youth figure out what they want to do for their life, what purpose they desire to achieve, they won't do certain things. They won't get into the wrong crowd. They won't get into the wrong relationships or do drugs or whatever, because they know that they have a purpose to fulfill. They know the reason why they existed is to contribute to the betterment of society, not only society but of their families and their own lives. So that's my advice to young youth, like to stay focused, have a vision for their life, and also to figure out what their purpose is. Why do they exist? We all exist for a reason, because we have a talent that we need to share with the world.
Thank you so much for that answer, Miss Cindy. Right after you talk about creating a vision board, and I'm sorry that I'm reading this, I just want to quote you right. You also talk about visualizing, accomplishing your goals. Please tell us how important is it for one to do so?
Yes, it's very important to have a vision for your life. If you have a vision, you know where you're going. If you don't, for those who don't have a vision, they will just go one way or the other way and be distracted by things. For instance, if I wanted to become a doctor, I would have to visualize myself being in the hospital, treating the patient. But if I don't have a vision, I can be drawn to other situations. For instance, if I hear about a new job about becoming a musician, which is not pertaining to what I want to do in the long run, that will take me away from my focus. So it is very important to have a vision of where you want to be in life, because it will help you direct your focus in achieving your goals.
All right, thank you. Well, you also mentioned in your book that the media plays a big role on the fact that people are not able to stay motivated. Can you please elaborate on that?
Definitely. The media is plagued with so much, depressing news. It's on one extreme. One is the extreme of reality shows, and the other is about the media not showing the proper information. And so what I focused on was more like on reality shows. Like many young girls, many young boys see these reality shows and compare their lives to it. And if they don't obtain that certain success as defined by the media, they feel like they don't have any worth or value. So for me, I realized that growing up, I used to look at the magazines where there were skinny models, and I realized that I cannot be like them. I'm my own person, and I did develop anorexia, where I did eat, but I binge eat, where I would eat for one day and not eat for the next 3 days, because I wanted to look just like the people on the magazine covers. And I realized how important it is not to compare oneself to the media, because it will distort your own perception of what your life is supposed to be, because everyone's life is different, and your path is not the same as the person next to you. So it's not good to compare your life to someone else's life, because their experiences are different, their upbringing is different, and if you compare, you will become disillusioned and then become depressed or sad that certain things are not happening in your life at the rate it's supposed to be happening.
Sure. Well, that's absolutely right. For me, and I totally agree with you, right? But for me, when I graduated high school, what I did over that summer was watch Law and Order and CSI, and it's part of the media, but it really got me into John Jay. That's the reason why I said I am going to go to John Jay, and I'm very happy I made that choice. But it's the media that played a very big role in making sure that I make that choice. You know, and I was able to visualize myself. I'm glad you elaborated on that, because as I saw people investigating crime scenes, I felt like I have to be there someday. I was kind of able to visualize myself in that position. But the media did play a very big role in terms of getting me to be there. So what's your advice in terms of people who are so connected to the media, taking into consideration that it can play both a negative and positive impact on your life?
Definitely. Media, as you said, can play either both a negative or a positive impact on your life. And for those who want to aspire to become successful, they should make that choice, that personal choice, whether they will allow certain images, certain voices from the media to affect their lives. But the only concern I have is that if a young girl is looking at certain shows on TV that does not display proper behavior but negative behavior that will continue on outside of the, but for instance, actors, some of them are not held liable for the actions they do, but for the young girls, if they display the same negative behavior, they don't have the resources to bail them out of jail or to bail them out of certain situations or relationships. And again, it's best to be make your own personal choices, whether they're positive or negative. And in the book, I only present both options, and it's up to the reader to choose which is the best route for them.
So Miss Cindy, you were just talking about the effect of media on our motivation. I want to keep you on the same path, environment, on top of environment, but right now I want to focus on family, friends, and peers. How do you think their negativity around them or positivity around them can affect, can distract or even motivate us in accomplishing our goals and being successful?
When you were born, they would say, every family member would ask, what would you like to be when you grow up? And if you don't say if you will become a doctor, lawyer, or whichever high professional that's out there, they'll say, oh, that's good. Like for instance, if you want to become a writer, for instance, it's not very looked upon in my culture, in the Haitian culture, because again, there may not be money involved in terms of the literary pursuits. So they might discourage one to not pursue that particular path, but more like on the path of becoming an attorney, a doctor, or whichever high-level white-collar profession that's available. And their discouragement or their words can have an effect. Even friends, if you tell them about your dream, about your goals, and if it seems too high, they might say, oh, you're not good enough for that. You're not, or they will say you're not able, they will say, oh, I don't see you doing such and such. You don't look like the type of person who do such and such. And their words, because you trust them, may affect you and make your dream die. But I have an illustration. For instance, if you have a plant and you put it in a very small pot, it will grow as much as the pot can hold it. But if you take that particular plant and put it in a larger, bigger pot, or in this case, an environment that's conducive to its growth, it will grow more roots, and grow taller. So if your environment or if your family is discouraging you to pursue a particular dream that you have such a passion for, and you know you will be successful in it, their discouragement can deter you from accomplishing your goals and your dreams. And again, you might want to seek support from friends and family or relatives who can see that you will realize your dream and encourage you. And because you do need encouragement from our family and friends, you do need that support system. And I do have a support system consisting of friends and family who are writers themselves and actually do see the gift that I have and decide that I should continue and go forth from it.
So as a young African-American woman, married woman, and also a writer, how are you able, I mean, I've been able to meet you at several events. I mean, this is like my third time meeting you now, and I see you so involved with the African community, you know, at a very large scale. And so I want to ask you, how are you able to balance the three: work, writing, and getting involved with the community, and and your family? How are you able to balance those three?
It requires balance and priorities. And also, I've been married for about 4 years, and I thank God for my husband. He's very supportive. Thank you. He's very supportive, and he's the one who actually encouraged me to write this book, as I mentioned earlier. Yes, big shout out to my husband, Jason. Hello, honey. Yes, so it requires a lot of balance, a lot of priorities, and for me, family always comes first, no matter what. Then comes, God comes first, then family, then my job. And I realized that in order to find that balance, I need to have that discussion with my family, with my relatives, and say I'm doing this on this particular date, and if I can work around with their schedule. So it does require a lot of my time to devote to writing, and to go into events in the community. And my husband, he's a photographer, so he's at events too. So we try to coincide a schedule that wherever both of us are at an event, or if one of us are at an event, we decide who cooks dinner for one night and who cleans the house for one night. And so yeah, but we try to strike a balance.
Where do you get your inspiration from?
I get my inspiration from life itself, from my experiences. All of my books are based on my experiences in life. I get my inspiration from other people who I meet, who I encourage, and whoever I mentor. And also, first and foremost, I get my inspiration from my faith in God through Jesus Christ. I have a relationship, I read the Bible, and I attend church. And my inspiration, and again, I want to mention that I wrote this book in 30 days. And the first draft happened within 5 hours while I was at the salon. So that's where I get my inspiration, is like life experiences, especially what I've gone through personally. And I'm thinking of writing other books based on my life experiences, because in the talks I've given at conferences, especially at the United Nations when I was there a couple of weeks ago, a lot of the women came up to me and said, "Cindy, I want to hear about your story, and what you've gone through." And I've gone through so much in my own life, and I'm just writing it down bit by bit, so that whoever I come across, like whoever had suffered from anorexia, whoever suffered from depression, I can speak to them and say, you can get out of it. If I got out of it, you can get out of it yourself. And that's how I get my inspiration, through people that I meet on my daily walk.
Do you find it different to actually meet people in person, and how do you also find it easier to get your message across, or is it the same feeling for you?
Like for me, writing is such a personal, solitary event. When I write a book, it's just me, my computer, and a cup of tea. But when I'm meeting face to face with a client, with a young woman, very different, because with writing, it's just me and my computer. But with writing, I meet different personalities who've gone through so much. I'm currently in talks with a group who cater towards young women under 18 who were ostracized by their families because they got pregnant and they had children. And so, I deal with these types of women from different backgrounds, and it's amazing how different writing can be. Writing an act involves a solitary act, involves me. It's just me and myself. But when I speak to women, it's very dynamic. It's so much more lively than being in a room in front of a computer. Definitely, for sure.
You've mentioned that faith is very important to you. It's one of your priorities, and it's one of your inspirations, I guess. How important is faith to you in terms of keeping it motivated?
Definitely. The definition of faith is to hope for things that you don't see. And as in our earlier conversation, we talked about having a vision for our lives. And when we have a vision of where we want to be, we're not there yet. So that requires faith. That requires a seed of faith to be planted. So for me, my faith in God allows me to be more compassionate, more understanding of people, and even know that I am living for a greater purpose than for myself. That's what I believe my faith has helped me in this journey. Because 1 year ago, I was not imagining that I would be here on the TV show, and I thank Tom, ACR TV, for allowing me to be here and to be with you guys. And I would never imagine that. So that's what faith is. It takes you out of your comfort zone to go forward in life.
All right, about the youth. It's very difficult for us nowadays to see very traumatic experiences, right? So what advice do we have for these young women in terms of, making sure that they keep it motivated?
When you look at a $100 bill, no matter what you do to that $100 bill, if you crush it, if you spit at it, if you bruise it, if you tear it apart in half, it's still a $100 bill. It still has value. So I want to say to the women that they still have value, no matter what they've gone through in life, what they experience in life. They could have been beaten, bruised, affected by whatever situation they've gone through. They still have worth, they still have value. and they still have a purpose to pursue. I've gone through my personal struggles myself, and I remember a time when I didn't want to continue to live. I didn't want to exist anymore because of that experience I had several years ago. And I decided, well, I still have value, I still have worth. What can I do with that? So I decided to transform my pain into purpose and power so I can inspire other young women to live, to go on and understand that they do have a purpose, they do have hope, no matter what situation you're going through. And actually, a good friend of mine, who I'm writing her book now, Mai Claudine Mukambanyo, that during the time when I was going through my struggles, I was Googling the word, why do I exist? And her organization came up.
And her.
Right, definitely. And then her story, if you read her story, you would think that your personal struggles are nothing compared to hers because she was a survivor of the Rwandan genocide in 1994. She lost her family, she lost her mom, her sisters, her relatives, pretty much everyone. But if you meet her today, she has complete joy. And interacting with her several years ago, I decided, well, yes, I'm going to transform my own pain, my own struggles into purpose and power. Turn around what was meant for evil, what was meant for my harm, I will change that and turn it around to something that's good. And so whoever tried to destroy my life, per se, during that time my life was about to be destroyed, and I decided to turn it around and turn it to something positive and good so that other women may be inspired.
Thank you so much for those beautiful words of motivation. We mentioned earlier that you are from Haiti originally. I want to know, do you speak any French, and can we expect the book in French?
Yes, I was actually born here in the United States, but my family's from Haiti. So I didn't really grow up in the Haitian culture, and I didn't understand my upbringing or identity until recently, about 3 years ago, when my grandmother visited us from Haiti, and she turns 105 at the end of this month. Wow. Yeah, and it's amazing. So I hope it passes down on to me. Yes. So I won't be writing a book in Haitian Creole, that's a language of Haiti, or even in French, but however, I will write about one of its cultural food, like the cuisine. Everyone loves food, so I decided to write a book on all of my grandmother's recipes and other people's recollections and thoughts about Haitian food. And I've gotten some thoughts from Edward Stanticat, who's a well-known Haitian author. I've got some from elected officials in the Haitian community, such as Joseph Champagne. I've got from other community activists as Margaret Tropnas. And yeah, so that will be I'll release that book in a couple of months. And I've been working on it for about three years, since I first met my grandmother back in 2012.
Oh, so that is your next project?
Yes.
That's the next book that we're, I guess, supposed to be expecting?
Definitely.
Very soon.
Yes.
All right. And so my question to you now is, what advice do you have for those who are thinking of going into literature and writing?
Definitely. With literature, with writing, the business is for those who have patience and who have a passion for writing literature. If you have a day job, keep it, because it takes time to get to the level where you want to achieve that success that you see in your favorite author. I have a day job, and I try to balance my work schedule with my creative writing schedule, and it's a hard balance. Again, you have to put food on the table if you have a family, so definitely keep your day job, but never let that passion die for writing, because if that's your first love will never leave you. If you think about it, it will
Your
follow
husband
you.
will be watching.
My first love, he's my first love actually. So, and by God's grace, we'll be together but that's another story. But yeah, like, have that passion, have that desire, keep it burning by writing every single day, or even every week, or whenever you have a free time, and just keep your day job until you reach that level of success that you desire.
Alright. So Miss Cindy, I want to thank you so much for being here today. But before we wrap up the show, I want to give you an opportunity to address anything that we may not have touched on the show. Is there anything else you would like to say to the viewers?
I just want to tell the viewers that you have a purpose. You were born with a gift and a talent. I hope you use it to encourage and change the world around you, change your community, and even change your family. I just want to even tell the viewers that to be on the lookout for my next book on Haitian cuisine. It will be coming out in a couple of months. You can visit my website at www.csjmediapublishing.com to learn about what I do and all of the books I've written. Be on the lookout of my next book. Thank you.
All right. My last question to you is going to be, where can viewers purchase this book from? So how can we get a hold of your
Definitely.
book?
People can order my book, How to Stay Motivated, on Amazon.com or even on my website, www.csjmediapublishing.com. Once again, it's www.csjmediapublishing.com.
Well, thank you so much for being part of this panel today.
Thank you.
We've heard some very inspirational words, and we hope that you continue to stay in touch and be a friend of Tantam,
I will.
the Sound of Africa on ACR TV. Well, thank you, Miss Cindy Samilian Johnson, for being here with us today. Once again, thank you.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Shout out to Tam Tam, the Sound of Africa.
Well, guys, that is our show for today. Thank you again for watching. This is Tam Tam, the Sound of Africa on ACR TV. Thank you. Hope to see you again soon.